Y'all, we knew that those inmates in New Orleans could not have escaped on their own. So the 10 inmates escaped from jail on Friday. 3 of them were caught later that day, and then the 4th one was captured on Monday.
Got up the next day, they found out they weren't there. They looked back at the tape and they said, well, at 1 o'clock they got out. But they didn't know until 8 hours later, and they looked at the tape. The question is, does anyone at the jail look at the surveillance cameras in real time?
So normally they do, Brian, and the person who was supposed to be doing that took a break to eat some food. So that was the first major security lapse here. Also, these inmates, some of the most dangerous inmates in this facility, were on the first floor. They're supposed to be held up on higher floors. Prior to that, there was a request from this facility to fix some doors that apparently you can knock the door off the track, and that is what the inmates did to get into that cell, where they were able to dig that hole behind the toilet, which ultimately facilitated their escape. So there are multiple layers of security failures that ultimately led to this escape, and now the priority is making sure that they catch the 6 remaining fugitives who are still out there.
It is law in that area that you have to notify the media within minutes of knowing there have been inmates that have escaped, and they didn't do that. It took them hours to alert the media.
They didn't notify the DA. They didn't even notify the victims as well. And it's like, is anybody working there? Exactly.
Why are they in that type of prison? It's a minimum.
Exactly. They should be in the state. They should be in the state prison. Number 2, are y'all not doing sweeps?
They finally caught the 4th escapee, Gary Price, who is wanted for first-degree attempted murder. There are still 6 out on the loose. When they caught Gary, he was actually just hanging out in an abandoned home in New Orleans. A neighbor had a camera on their house, and the whole incident was caught on camera. The house was surrounded by cops. Gary Price surrendered with his hands up and was able to be detained without incident. Sterling Williams, a maintenance worker at the jail, helped them escape. He said that he was threatened by one of the inmates, saying that the inmate advised him to turn off the water in the cell that they were going to use to break out. So he did. And that's how, when they ripped the toilet off the wall, there wasn't water going everywhere. According to an affidavit for arrest warrant, Williams was seen on the surveillance video speaking with Matsy and another escaped inmate, Derek Groves. Groves allegedly tried to take Williams' phone and wanted Williams to bring a book with Cash App information to Groves' cousin and another part of the jail. Groves is still on the run.
State police say those 4 inmates were transferred to the Angola State Prison. NOPD says the remaining 6 are likely still somewhere in the city. Meanwhile, we're learning more about the alleged inside man, the jail maintenance worker who was arrested, and his alleged role in the jailbreak.
Law enforcement sources have been telling us that it is doubtful that 10 inmates could escape from the Orleans Justice Center without help from inside. And tonight we're learning that may have been the case. A maintenance worker at the Orleans Justice Center is now facing serious charges. Investigators said he has confessed to helping 10 inmates escape from the jail. According to court documents, 33-year-old Sterling Williams told investigators he turned the water off from the outside pipe walk area on the exterior of cell 6. Using an unknown apparatus, the inmates then sawed through steel bars behind the sink toilet unit, removed the unit, and escaped. Tuesday, Sheriff Susan Hudson, who runs the jail, told members of the New Orleans City Council there were procedural failures, missed notifications, and intentional wrongdoings.
This was a coordinated effort aided by individuals inside our own agency who made the choice to break the law.
Hudson also revealed several OPSO employees have been suspended without pay, and more disciplinary actions are under review.
One arrest has been made, and we are continuing to pursue everyone involved, and that investigation is active and ongoing.
According to investigative documents, William claimed he acted under orders from escaped inmate Antoine Massey, who allegedly threatened to shank him if he refused. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrow isn't buying that defense.
I think that he made some bad decisions. I mean, I don't think that he had to do any of the things that he did. And, if he was under threat, then he certainly should have brought that to someone else's attention.
Williams has been charged with the principal to a simple escape and malfeasance in office. Both of these are felonies. And I'm sorry, if you're threatened by inmates, you probably shouldn't be working around them. That's a tough job, but it takes an even tougher person to be able to be in there and protect yourself, not be intimidated by the inmates.
I am personally afraid, not just for myself, but for my lawyers who tried the case against the individual twice. We were asking for a life sentence of this man, and he is now at large. Two of the lawyers who I tried that case with, who successfully went forward, able to get a conviction on that case. These lawyers got out of town this weekend with their families.
Yeah, so people who prosecuted cases leaving town, also the family members and friends of former victims also leaving town, concerned with what these fugitives might do. Take a look at this. So the 10 guys broke out of the jail using a hole in the wall behind a toilet. You can see right above that hole, they taunted officers, writing, quote, "Too easy, LOL." They then ran off from a loading dock area and crossed the highway.
Y'all, before we could even get this video edited, they already caught another suspect. That makes 5. That's great news. These men do not need to be out on the streets.
Here in New Orleans, this apartment complex near Iberville and Basin became the next hotspot. This time, Louisiana State Police captured a 5th inmate, 19-year-old Corey Boyd. Authorities say they believe the remaining inmates are all in the New Orleans metro area. As law enforcement continues to chase leads,
there's new surveillance video showing 3 of the inmates walking down an alley just hours after the escape. Take a look. These inmates are pretty brazen just to walk the streets in New Orleans like this. It's like they don't care at all. And the fact that most of them are staying in New Orleans is crazy to me. Not that I'm ever going to be in prison, but if I was going to escape, I would not stay in the area. I would be out of there. And they're just walking around like they're out of jail. They're good. And obviously they're not, because they've caught 5 so far. 2 women have been arrested for helping the fugitives as the manhunt continue into the 6th day.
Arrest 2 women accused of helping some of the escaped inmates stay free. State troopers say they have phone records of both the women communicating with some of the fugitives. They say Corvante Baptiste helped the one recaptured last night, Corey Boyd, and that Courtney Harris was at some point used as a getaway car. Now, a Fox 8 law enforcement source says Leo Tate called Harris before the jailbreak. Tate was in the facility awaiting trial on burglary, and weapons charges. Troopers say Harris later drove 2 of the fugitives around various spots in New Orleans. They say those 2 are still on the run, but did not identify them any further. In Slidell, troopers say Corvante Baptiste helped to get food to Corey Boyd while he hid from police. They say they have records of phone calls and social media messages. Boyd was picked up by troopers yesterday evening in the 1400 block of Iberville. He's accused of killing Mr. Brandon Fees during a car burglary last year. Now, the 2 women each face 1 count of accessory after the fact. In Louisiana, that's a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Now, 5 inmates are still out there, and investigators say they're getting help to stay ahead of law enforcement.
Courtney Harris and Corvante Baptiste. They joined the maintenance worker, Sterling Williams, who was arrested Monday, as co-conspirators for their roles in helping the inmates who broke free. Williams has obtained a lawyer claiming that he turned the water off not because he was threatened, but because the toilet was clogged. So he turned off the water to unclog the toilet. Okay, that sounds legit. According to the statement that was posted on social media, those who choose to assist or conceal these individuals are violating the law and will be held accountable. Harboring fugitives threatens the safety of our communities and will not be tolerated. The Attorney General said that repairs are being made. They're searching for security weaknesses and what they can do to strengthen it. They're doing things short-term now, and then they're working on things that can be done long-term. They've removed everyone from that lower floor where the inmates escaped from. Almost 70 prisoners have been moved elsewhere, making sure that each floor is secured and having an officer on each one. One of the security threats that they're fixing is the flooring. Apparently in parts of the jail, they have flooring tiles, and they can be pulled up and used as weapons. So it's a good thing that they're getting that out of there and they're replacing it with cement. So these are the 5 inmates that are still at large. Hopefully they will be caught quickly. Derek Groves, he is a convicted murderer. Antoine Massey, he's an accused domestic abuser. And this isn't the first time that he's escaped.
Local provider of electronic monitors says that Massey should never have been placed in the general jail population to begin with.
Matt Dennis calls Massey an escape artist with a dangerous history.
You're astonished that they keep this level of risk on the first floor of that jail.
Dennis with ASAP Release Electronic Monitors is talking about escapee Antoine Massey, who is accused in court documents of threatening to stab Williams prior to the jailbreak if Williams didn't cut off water to the toilet that was yanked out to provide an escape route.
There isn't an ounce of this man's history that doesn't escape.
Dennis says Massey, who's wanted for rape and kidnapping in St. Tammany, as well as domestic abuse and theft in Orleans Parish, had prior escapes dating back to 2007.
He had no intention of wearing an ankle monitor. 2 hours, and he cut it off. And we had him in jail pretty quickly. We went and got him.
Linton Van Buren, he's an accused murderer as well. Jermaine Donald, accused of attempted murder. Leo Tate's facing burglary and drug charges. So 5 out of these 6 men are actually wanted for murder, either being convicted of or accused of. We do not need any of these men on our streets.
As your sheriff, I take full accountability for this failure.
Today, New Orleans City Council members spent hours grilling Sheriff Susan Hudson about the jailbreak at the Orleans Justice Center, where 10 inmates escaped.
The sheriff said she's not running for re-election. With this big failure, we don't blame her. Of course, more facts are coming out, and they will prosecute everyone involved to the full extent that the law allows. If you have any information, you can reach out to Crime Stoppers. There is still a reward out on the table.